Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have another episode of Ult In Ten here, and this time we have a very awesome guest. He is from Curse, and his name is Tom because his in-game name is so hard to say. Why don't you go ahead and talk about yourself for a little bit?
I've been a Dota player for probably like 7 years, so I've been playing Dota pretty much since it released on, even before Frozen Throne. Switched to Han, played that for a long time, made it to the top of the ladder almost, but not quite. And switched to this game when my friend switched. So I've been playing LoL ever since, and that's really about it.
Okay. I noticed one thing here in the beginning. Your John disconnected, which actually happens
Oh yeah,
quite a
yeah.
bit. And you kind of back off, of course, knowing that happens. What kind of goes through your mind? Like, do you kind of get like a negative, like, we're
Um,
gonna lose this game kind of thing, or?
A little bit. The problem that it really creates is that SYDTKO can't get his level 1. SYDTKO can't snowball. But I wasn't really concerned because it's double lift on Ezreal playing bottom lane. So Ez can farm from range really easily. So he's probably not going to miss too much.
One thing I want to point out, yeah, you see double lift tagged as a or under the curse tag. This
Yep.
this replay is from the 30th. Just to point out to everyone, don't let the Phoenix button squeak in the as a health pot kind of confuse. It's a little bug with LO replay. And
Yeah, it's
were you
pretty old.
first pick with Gragas, or actually, I believe
I
you're second pick, right?
I think, yeah, double lift was first pick.
And did you choose Gragas? No, oh, of course you chose Gragas without seeing Talon. But what's kind of your mindset in the early game when going against an AD assassin like him?
I don't have armor on Gragas back in this time, but I definitely should. Because I've learned that from playing Gragas a lot, that you need armor on yellows. But really against Talon, you have to play really, really safe. Like, getting below half is not okay. But I was expecting to go against Morg, so that's... I don't like going against Talon as Gragas, but it's not a terrible matchup. It's just not as easy as Morg.
You see, well, I've been seeing a lot more recently with the current meta is that a lot of people are playing AD assassins in middle. How do you tend to counter that besides just equipping armors or armor yellow runes?
The armor runes do quite a lot, but actually picking a good champion that has range to like essentially outrange their gap closer is generally the best way, and just playing really safe. So you just pretty much AFK farm middle against them because they tend to fall off late game.
Right, and unfortunately with Gragas, you don't really have a ranged attack to farm, but at least you have your
Yep,
body
he's
slam to
got
get
the
out.
barrel. The barrel's pretty good enough, I'd say.
Right, yeah. What's your early game goals with farming? Like, what do you typically try to buy before you get into mid game and late game?
Well, in this replay, I can tell that I have money for Dorans already, so that's really good. Typically, you want lots of Dorans because that gives you the best early game snowball. Like, if they buy a bunch of Dorans and they're up at Dorans, it could mean that you die in a trade when they would have not normally killed you. So, Dorans are what I'm looking for. Sorks and NLR for death cap is obviously the eventuality.
I believe you actually buy armor on Gragas to help
Oh yeah,
with
yeah,
Talon.
yeah. I do. I buy one cloth armor just to prevent him from actually snowballing
And a lot of
because
people. Actually, sorry, continue.
he can actually burst Gragas if you don't have any armor, so that can be bad.
And this is kind of one thing you see mostly in top lane, where people will typically buy armor to counter their opponent, and you don't see a lot of AP carries doing this, especially like building specific items. Like what type of items is there any actually special items you build depending on AP carry? Like for instance, if there's Annie, do you try to build a lot of health or anything like that, like maybe a Rod of Ages or?
Against Annie, like Merc Treads can do a lot because it cancels out the stun duration, so you might be able to get away a lot sooner. And like the stun duration means more burn damage and more auto attacks from the bear as well, so it's just really a nice item to have against her. So especially on Vlad, like Vlad's a tanky champion inherently, so resists help him a lot more.
Do you tend to keep the merc treads throughout the entire game, or do you eventually like switch it off once you've built more AP or maybe more health?
Merc treads as an item are just way too good, so I probably would never sell them once I've bought them. Because the end game, they're probably the best boots in the game.
Okay.
Because CC is what kills you end game.
Yeah, especially as Gragas when you're all about mobility and trying to
Yep.
stay alive long enough to use your abilities over and over.
Yep.
What about positioning during laning phase? I know it's something that kind of really doesn't get a lot of light, how important positioning is in laning phase versus positioning in team fights. What do you try to typically do to maximize your positioning?
Well, against Talon, I'm looking at my creep's health to know when he's going to last hit. The importance of that is you know when he'll stand still for your skill shot to land. And secondly, I'm trying to stay out of his Raker range so that it only hits me at least. If it hits me at all, it should only hit me once. Because then my passive will like make me heal through that amount of damage basically. So I can sustain in lane. So it's a mixture of solo lane's always give and take. You always want to be denying while actively farming. And I see that he's got no mana, so I can do whatever the hell I want, because he just tried to kill SYDTKO.
Yeah, that's really important. A lot of people kind of undervalue is the whole give and take. A lot of people can harass, but harassing while CSing is like a whole nother level.
Yep. There's some champions though that it's not important to really harass with, like Karthus, because he's the best scaling AP carry in the game. Just scales too hard if he free farms.
And now it looks like we're about in mid-game where people are starting to roam. Bot tower's gone down, and Talon and Morgana have actually switched against you. Well, I'm assuming that's actually better for you. Would you say that?
Yeah. I intended to go against Morgana from the start, so it's pretty good. But I have so much to sustain in terms of mana that I could beat Talon now. So that's likely why they switched it up.
We have a question from Frolic3, and it's I'm actually interested about this one. It's we have seen you play almost every role, but what role do you feel like you excel in the most?
I feel like I excel at AP carry the best, so mid typically, but you can AP carry from top as well. But that's just what I feel like.
Have you been playing AP carry the longest, or is it just like the kind of thing you're most comfortable with?
Um, I've been playing mid for a long time, and I tried to get it as much as I could in Season 1. I was playing, like, when I was playing mids in Season 1, it was Urgot, Vladimir, AP Kog'Maw, and I forget the last one. Oh man, that's pretty sad. Well, I could look at my rank stats and see that.
Well, the points made. You typically play a lot of APs in middle.
Yep.
What about your goals in mid to late game? Is it mostly just about kills, or are you still trying to farm those key items?
Well, if you think about it, a kill is the same thing as the creeps. I think it's like 16 creeps is a kill. So yeah, I mean, creeps are important every point of the game. It's just It's
All right.
kind of a difficult question. When you kill someone, though, it takes pressure off the map, so you're free to push, you're free to do a bunch of things, like the objectives, like the towers and the dragon. So yeah.
Well, one thing you do that I noticed in this video is you try to, whenever you have the opportunity, steal their jungle, their jungle race, I believe it is.
Yeah. I always try to take those. If you're really good at clearing waves, oh man, I get caught here so hard. I needed wards. Yeah. I needed to sell the cloth armor for the wards.
That John was kind of lacking there.
No, that's my mistake though. But she's been DC'd most of the game. She's level 5, so it's more my fault. But.
Well, I'd like to point out that I remember Rainman said something about this in a recent stream. That gold is kind of global, where there's only a certain amount of gold on the map at every point.
There's a finite amount of gold on the map. That should be understood because 18 creeps spawn every 30 seconds. That's the most you could farm. And the jungle creeps. And the faster you're clearing the jungle creeps, the faster they respawn. So it has a snowball effect in itself. Just the faster you clear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do you go about coming back from such a deficit? If you notice, you guys have 5 kills and they have 17. It seems like The Nasus has been feeding a little hard, and since that Johnny DC, she's actually 0-6. Like, what do you kind of do? Like, what's the strategy about coming back?
I don't know that there's a strategy, but it's just I do whatever feels proper. Like I see them chasing the Nessus there, and I go to help him. I mean, coming back though is you have to take advantage of how they're playing, which is if they're splitting up, you have to, or if they're splitting up, you have to group generally at the proper times to try and gank them. Or if they're grouping, you have to split push. But make sure your wave clearer is the one guarding the split push, guarding from the group. So their wave clearing in this game is pretty abysmal outside of Morgana, so their pushing is not really that great. I think if they had some better wave clearers, they might have been able to end this game a little bit with the snowball they have going right now. But
Do
that's
you,
the problem with Assassins.
do you try to feed the people or at least help out like do you if you notice the Nasus was I believe like 1-6 right now, do you try to help him out and get him some kills to try to get him back in the game, or do you just try to make
Uh,
opportunities happen wherever you can?
Short answer, hell no. Long answer is I feel like if he's already made that many mistakes, his judgment probably isn't the greatest. So you really rely on yourself in solo queue. You just take everything that you can. I mean, it sounds really greedy, but if you want to win, you just rely on yourself.
What about the people who are trying to play as a team that are trying to get more competitive into this? Do you have any like advice in a sense of that when you're losing, trying to come back? Since it's a lot different from solo queue and team play.
Team play, they're usually so organized that once you've made mistakes, it's really difficult to come back, and they have to make a mistake for you to come back. So, really, when it comes to playing solo queue and team play, is just monitor how many mistakes you're making. Try and make it 0, and if you're making 0 mistakes, they'll eventually make a mistake, and you'll win the game. So,
Very true.
yeah.
We have a question here from Starwolf from Reddit, and he asks, "What champion you feel is underrated or is not played as much that it should be?"
Hmm. There's a lot of them. Karma's support is a lot better than everyone gives her credit. Uh, APS, definitely. Lux, for sure. So there's a lot. I could probably keep going if I look down the champion roster. Oh, wow. That was really greedy what I just did there. That was another mistake right there.
I'm actually curious, how do you feel about Victor? The community doesn't seem to have given him too great of a response so
He's better.
far.
He's better than the community thinks, but his major problem is that W doesn't work. Like his W is basically Vagar's W, right? But the problem is it takes a full 1.5 seconds to stun them. But once it does stun them, he can instantly kill them because of the ult damage. The ult damage is just absurd.
And the silence it gives, which is really
Yep.
important. We're trying to
They can't
prevent people from
flash
doing
out
things.
of it. Yeah, they
Exactly.
can't flash out of it instantly.
Well, that kind of leads me to another question that was from the League of Legends forums. Is that you've been very public about the fact that you disagree with the majority of high elo player base about Ari's power.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you say that she's overvalued.
Yep.
What in particular do you think her shortcomings are, and what do you think she needs to become a competitive pick?
She is viable, don't get me wrong, but she's definitely, like, I've been getting the impression that people think she's really overpowered, which I don't really agree with. I think Xerath is Ari, but with more range. So I have, I guess, a bias towards range, which I think range is probably the most important thing in the game.
Yeah, especially
Because,
for an AP carry.
yep. Because if you get engagement advantage on them, oftentimes you can just kill them without even having a chance to do anything. And that's really important because if you can't do anything, you just don't have a choice.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. The range and mobility is really
Yep.
undervalued by most people in this game.
Yep.
And
Ari, the difference between Ari and Xerath though is that Xerath trades mobility for range, I suppose. But yeah, that's their difference, I suppose.
Yeah, where people really noticed that with AP Scion before his slight nerfs is that boots and mobility, just that mobility that you have from him and running to bot lane before they can even notice is just so crucial in so many ganks.
Yep. It's like Rammus Powerball. Sometimes he can sneak through your ward before you react, and then it's already too late. It's like you see him as he's on the end of the ward. It's like, oh man, I'm already dead.
One thing I want to talk about, which I'm actually really looking forward to, is your team's website, teamcurse.net.
Yep.
Dimbits from Reddit. I hope I said your name right. I said your name right. Yes. When will it be done?
Done. I think it's a work in progress. Like, it should be out release next month, and I don't know how complete of an iteration it'll be. So next month is the answer, but I don't know how complete that will be. Hopefully, we'll have like 4 or 5 guides by then. 4 or
Yeah.
5 completed ones. Like, we have the written stuff done though.
Well, one thing you're really known for is you're one of the few people in the community that actually does theory crafting in the sense. Well, I mean, yours specifically focuses on math crafting. Can you talk to us
Yep.
a little about that? Because it's really undervalued in the community. Every competitive game out there has theory crafting. StarCraft, build orders is theory crafting. Um,
Yeah.
World of Warcraft, you do theory crafting for arenas, for compositions, and for cooldowns, stuff like that. Can you kind of like elaborate on that and tell us about the importance of it and why the community should pay more attention to it?
Well, everything on the game is numbers, so eventually it just comes back to the numbers, but under the theory crafting will make you understand the game more more quantitatively, I suppose. And it is really important to compare champions' power levels, their base stats, and what they're capable of, basically.
Well, I know you've been working on a couple of guides. Do you want to talk about a couple of these math crafting you've been doing, just to give a little sneak peek at people to check out your website?
Yeah, there's an armor pen spreadsheet that I've worked on, comparing it to AD, and it shows quantitatively why flat AD is basically the same thing as armor pen, and also what people don't understand is qualitatively flat AD gives you better chance to last hit, gives you more lifesteal and things like that. Oh man, I'm getting caught again.
Yeah, they actually picked up Baron. You're trying to sneak that blue away from him to help your team out
Yeah,
to make it defend easier.
that was greedy. Yeah, that was greedy, but really do need blue to wave clear.
But yeah, you are going to be posting these theory crafts on your website, correct?
Yep, that spreadsheet will be on the site. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
And
you
there's
should
a
all definitely check
champion
that out.
matrix that I worked on, which is like picks and counter picks. And there's I've done a few for Doublelift. Like Doublelift built a full Magic Pen build in one of our scrims, and I had to yell at him to build Void Staff instead of building Black Cleaver. Because if you're doing a full Magic Pen build on or a proc build on Kog'Maw, you're better off building Void Staff every time.
Right. Yeah, those stuff like that is definitely a huge thing. Like I believe there was a little theory crafting on Vayne on items for her and how like at a certain point more attack speed isn't worth it versus AD, versus lifesteal kind of thing.
Yep.
I think the community can definitely benefit from something like that. I'm really looking forward to seeing this and seeing more people get into it.
Yeah, hopefully. I think there's kind of a stigma against it, so
Yeah, people act like, oh, you're such a nerd
yeah,
for doing
when
theory crafting.
when they're playing like 2,000 games themselves as well.
Exactly. I mean, in the end, it's just to help you get better and get a better
Yep.
understanding of the game. So,
Yep.
so the enemy team had Baron here, and I kind of want to talk about how do you like to defend it. I remember in the last video with Dyrus, he liked to make sure to push out lanes as far as he could, and even apply a little pressure if the outer turrets weren't down. What do you do
Yep.
specifically?
That's good. Making sure that every lane is pushed out ensures that like one person on your team doesn't have to split to defend the turrets, because when that happens, they'll just dive you. what I like to do as Gragas is throw a barrel before the wave hits, and then you pop that barrel, and your barrel's already like cycling through the next cooldown, and you can wave clear again. So it becomes nearly impossible to break a turtle with Gragas behind it.
Right. I don't think most people realize that your barrel, I believe, the cooldown refreshes once you use it, not when it
Yep.
explodes. Correct?
Yep. That's what makes Gragas like truly as good as he is, because there's champions that don't do that, like Lux, and she's kind of underplayed. That might be part of the reason that her E doesn't cool down when you throw it.
Yeah, that's definitely a nice. Would be a nice fix to her. She seems to
Yep.
have. I mean, her damage is really bursty, but not
Yep.
consistent, which is a huge problem late game when people start getting MR.
Yeah. It's basically, yeah, if you can't control space when your team has Lux, they can just dodge all your skill shots and then you do 0 damage. She's really hit or miss.
I have a question about team comp in this game. It seems a little wacky on your guys' part. There's no real hard initiate besides your barrel, and then when you do initiate, there's no real like stun or anything like that to keep them there.
Yeah. We have Wither. Wither is actually a really good initiate because it's 700 range and it lasts for 5 seconds, so you're not likely to get away from it.
Yeah, and especially with a good ult from you can definitely spread them out, so then the wither target will actually be stuck there for a while.
Yep. But mostly we're abusing SYDTKO. Like, he's just backdooring while we defend. Just wasting time. See him down there? He's got owned, but...
But he did get a tower, though. He did manage to get that and
Yep.
open up the inhib to be backdoored again later.
Yep.
And what's kind of nice is that Gragas inherently gets a little tanky with his Drunken Rage, with the damage reduction from that, so you
Yep.
still act as sort of a beefy bruiser tank for your team without any, resistant items.
Yep.
And that was a nice KS there from double lift.
Actually, I kill secured that.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's all about kill secure, it's not kill stealing.
Yeah.
And because of that, now you can get Dragon. You guys know Baron is coming up here, and what do you try to do to prepare for it? I mean, you know there's going to be a huge team fight. You know that they know when it's up since they killed it. How do you go about this? This is a crucial point in the game.
It looks like there's a ward and a box in Baron, so SYDTKO's been boxing it. We're all just grouping to make sure that they don't get it. Nasus is split pushing bottom with teleport. So everything's perfect right now. As long as we have vision on Baron, make sure they're not taking it. Oh, we see knocked bottom. So they can't be taking it. So I'm not sure what our reaction here is. Oh, we actually started? This is pretty ballsy.
Well, I believe you guys actually start it and then stop.
Okay. We bait them to it, I suppose. Yeah. So Nasus will free push.
And that's what's really strong about having a teleporter team, is that you could... I mean, once you get that turret down, you can just backdoor and then teleport in when a team fight occurs.
Yep.
And it looks like they engage here on you guys, but you guys, with Janna, you back out a little bit, wait for Nasus to come up, which is really strong with Janna. Nat was pointing out in episode 1, is that just her ability to, when a team fight starts, you can just say nope. And you guys know Baron's getting down, you actually steal it, and then you go in for the fight because they got so low off of it.
Yep. And Nasus is there.
And you actually, I want to point this out, is actually you push Kog'Maw out. You keep him zoned, since he's the only one doing all the damage from them, is that the other team's just so tanky, and Morgana's pretty much screwed, so to say, with what you guys have up. And you guys actually get...
annoying, though, that CV actually, stopped it from being an assassination. See, he could see me in that brush. That's what I was waiting for, as I was looking to assassinate him if he came back into the fight. The CV prevented that.
Yeah, Gragas' little combo, his ult barrel combo, is so strong that you can potentially one-shot an AD carry if they build no MR.
Yep.
And we've seen that in past tournaments, just how dominating Gragas can, or devastating Gragas can be in a team fight.
Yep.
And since you guys stole Baron here, you guys are trying to make sure to push everything down. Looks like Janna is taking down that inhib, or trying to take down inhib, and you guys, you and Doublelift, are pushing top lane. Typically, is this... I mean, it is typically what you do, but when you get Baron, what do you like to do necessarily? You guys were down, this kind of gives you the advantage back, or it gives you some sort of advantage now?
It depends on your team comp. So with Gragas, I'll probably be behind their tower, trying to zone them out so that they can't defend their turret. if you have Caitlyn with Baron, it's pretty much you just sit behind your traps and take down every turret because you can't do anything about it. Caitlyn's really dumb with Baron, but it depends on your team comp. Who has more range means you can siege much more effectively. Who has better wave clearing means you can turtle better.
Yeah, I
So you
kind of
want to
feel.
mix of both. Just in case the game goes against you, then you can turtle. If you have range, you can push. So.
And it kind of feels like you and Morgana kind of cancel each other out when it comes into terms with wave clearing at their inhib turrets.
Yep. Yep.
But at least you have the Nasus who helps out, help pushes them out a little bit, gets a little bit of poke.
He kills turrets so fast. And he's just like presses Q and the turret's gone. It's ridiculous.
And luckily Ezreal has some pretty decent items too. He has a Trinity Force for towers as well.
Yep. So you press Q, gone.
Yeah, you see right here, just, I mean, Nasus just face tanking, taking no damage, and that tower drops in a matter of seconds.
Yep.
And you guys also notice Morgana, which she's out of position. I mean, she's not helping defend, and you guys are just able to push 5 on, well, at the moment 4 on 4, but you have SYDTKO closer than Morgana is.
The thing too with this team comp is if we really wanted to, we could force a tower down just by Nasus walking in, and I could ult them out, and then the tower would die, and then we could fight them like without a tower impeding our fight.
Yeah, what you guys lack in composition, you kind of make up for in
Man.
presence, definitely, with that ability.
That was an ugly barrel. Barreled on top of myself. Missed it completely.
Yeah, but you see Nat Grog's strength, his mobility, just being able to barrel roll out of there.
Yep.
Which, of course, you mentioned earlier is just really powerful. And that Nasus is just going to town on their team with being so tanky with a Frozen Heart.
Yeah, they got the inhib for them trying to dive onto me though, so it's a pretty good trade, especially since I didn't die.
Yeah, it was
Anna saved me.
It was a 1 for inhib.
Yep.
Because that SYDTKO.
Still that guy's red too.
Yeah, that's what's really funny with Grog is that your cooldowns are so quick, especially on your ult. It was like a what 30-something second cooldown, 36-second cooldown that you can steal buffs so easily from them.
Yep, it's 36 seconds with max CDR and max level of the ult. So it goes down with every level. It's 90, 75, 60. It used to be really, really dumb. I think it was like 60, 50, 40, and it was so overpowered. It was disgusting.
Now, do you think this is kind of a stupid move on the enemy team's part? Yeah, Ezreal's down, but they're pushing and they're already getting really low. And as you see, you take out Alistar right there.
Yeah, this was really greedy for them to do.
I believe it's like
Ez's timing was too bad. Like his timer was too short for them to actually do that.
And then I mean that was a 4-on-5 fight too, because SYDTKO's been backdooring top lane this entire time.
I think that team fight pretty much sealed the game. If they played that or if they didn't dive, the game would have gone another probably 15 minutes, 10 minutes maybe. It would have gone to next Baron for sure.
Yeah, I know in my experience is that teams who get advantage like that kind of get a little cocky and potentially blow the game away.
Yep.
What about your items? I saw you picked up a Zhonya's, which I know in a couple of minutes will be really important, but you have a Negatron. Is that...
I think the Negatron was because I was getting hit by way too many binds. And Cog is a magic damage proc build. So...
Yeah, Cog was the only one that was really able to kill you earlier. He was just shredding you to bits.
Yep.
And now you guys know you have the advantage. You have all inhibs down, I believe. Yeah, all inhibs down. And you guys are kind of going for your final push here. What's kind of your strategy in a team fight right now? I know you were talking about, well, specifically protective ults and offensive ults. Like, how do you typically know, when to do that? Especially since you have a Janna. I mean, you have pretty much 2 barrels, technically, or 2 ults.
Well, I think we're going to take next Baron and then try and end the game. So when we have Baron, our hard engage, if we 5v5, everyone's auto-attacking each other, we'll win when we have Baron. So most likely I'm going to try and barrel them into us. If I'm not sure that we're going to win, I'll likely barrel to split them, so that we can pick off whoever goes in unfavorable directions. If I know we're gonna lose, I'll just barrel to get us out.
Do
So
you?
it's really just a split-second decision.
Okay. I feel like you play kind of support like with your ult. I mean, obviously that's a smart thing to do. But I know a lot of people kind of like to assassinate. You were mentioning earlier, if you have that
Yep.
opportunity to assassinate
Yep.
Kog'Maw or something, you can turn the fight into a 5 vs 4.
Yeah, a lot of players that play Gragas see barrel as only a like a burst damage tool, but it's actually a tool you can use for peeling or forcing people into dumb situations. So, like if they're trying to rush down your AD carry, you just barrel atop your AD carry and they're boom, all
Free
gone.
flash for the
Yeah.
AD carry.
Yep.
And you guys notice Baron is up, but I don't believe you actually go for it. I think Shaco heads for it, but you have all of your lanes impacted on him, all inhibs
Yeah.
down. And you guys clearly have an advantage in a team fight with just all the super minions beating away at people. And if anything, they'll take down, the 2 Nexus turrets.
Yeah.
Let's
There's
see.
so much pressure on them, so I can get free barrels pretty much and just poke them down. Yeah,
Yeah, you and
they
Ezreal, the chip you're doing is just ridiculous to them. And they
Yep.
engage on you, and Double gets nice flash away from Alistar, and John, of course, uses her ult, but it doesn't really do anything. And you use your ult defensively here to
Yep.
cancel out Morgana's ult completely, which is really smart.
Yep. I
And
think
then,
I barreled them and I barreled her into Janna and Nasus, so maybe it still stunned them, but they're tanky enough to survive it.
right, you can't really burst any of them down except Kog'Maw, but you used it to help your team not take that extra, like, 600-700 damage from her ult
Yeah.
proc. And it looks
Yep.
like they surrender and you guys win. This has been another episode of Ult In Ten. I'd like to thank Tom again for being on here.
Yep.
You guys definitely need to check out Team Curse when it comes out. He does stream as well. It's kind of random at the moment, but you should definitely check it out. He's always helpful with good music and good advice. And is there anything you want to say before we cut out?
No, that'd be it.
Okay. Well, good luck to Team Curse and Kiev. Everyone
Thanks.
definitely should kind of support them and see what they can do in Korea.